Yeah, I'll dump, I think.
Yep.
You
go right.
You gonna dump immediately? Everybody here, all right, you guys? Barbara Aikman, Van's wife, has asked me to scatter his ashes per his request on Shasta Lake. And some of you knew Van all of his life. Morgan knew him for over 50 years, as did I.
63.
Yeah, and
Year I was born.
my kids all knew Van. But what you didn't know about Van, those of you who just saw him,
What was that?
My beer, it's okay.
it was an interruption is what it was.
All right, just keep it going. It's fine.
Was that, in fact, Van,
Be careful, John.
well, I'm going to stand out here. I can turn around. Van was a superior athlete when he was a young guy, and we knew him in college. He, first of all, before we even met him, he was the Seattle City Juniors ping pong champion 2 years in a row.
Wow.
He had hands, and we called him hands.
That was his nickname.
That were incredible. He could juggle. He could grab something before it hit the floor when you knocked it off the table. And excellent pool player. Him and Morgan won the intramural pool championships. I don't know, at least 1 year.
2 years.
2 years in Seattle, and we were in a fraternity. Van and Morgan and I pledged, and we went.
Sigma Chi.
Van always knew and was always well informed about where to fish and what to use and where they were catching them and everything. And we fished all over all the time. And he had, when I was over to Barbara's house this last weekend, she gave me this, and it's a list of Van wrote of places I have fished. This is part of his memoirs. And I just want to read, you'll recognize some of this. In the state of Washington, he's got Olympic Peninsula, okay, Claylock, Hoh River, Solduck, Queets, Clearwater, Kelwa, Elwha, in the ocean, Lake Sutherland, Ozette River, Western Washington, Diablo Lake, Alaska Lake, Lake Washington, Ross Lake, Toutle River, the East Fork of the Lewis, West Lowland Lakes, yeah, okay, Cascade Range Lakes, Eastern Washington Lakes, White Chuck, Seep Lakes. Seep Lakes were the lakes that formed when they built Grand Coulee Dam, and it created such a huge body of water. It raised the water level in the whole area and filled up every depression, and they called those seep lakes. And the fish, they planted them, and the fish fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Full of food, and they was fishing all the time. We went to, I don't know, maybe a dozen of those different ones.
Really thrived.
The Cowlitz River, in Yakima River, Park and Blue Lakes, Stillaguamish, the Pilchuck, Lake Stevens. We fished a lot of these with him, but then he moved to California.
What's on this list, Jeff?
He started in LA and worked for Ford down there. And I know he fished the East Walker because that was one of the closest rivers to Southern California. And then he moved to Sacramento, got a job as a counselor with Sac State.
Sac State.
And that's where he retired. He worked there for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years as a counselor. And fished, of course.
And he recruited a lot of athletes
Yeah.
for Stacks.
This other than the Sacramento and the American and all that, but Shasta, Oroville, Bucks Lake, Davis Lake, Stampede, Fort Bragg, Middle Fork of the Feather, Lake Almanor, Boca, Bullard's Bar, Spalding, Donner, Collins Lake, Tahoe, Folsom Lake, the Delta, White Chuck River, Central California, Indian Creek Reservoir, I've not fished it, Topaz Lake, John's been there, Berryessa, Comanche, Caples, Silver Lake, Echo Lakes, French Meadows, Hill Hole, New Balones, Pardee, McGee Creek, yeah, Delta, Folsom, Blue Lakes, Twin Lakes, Kern River, Kings Canyon Lake, and the Santa Ana River. That's the end of his list. I know he's missed a
I'll
couple.
bet he fished Clear Lake. You can put that one on there.
He fished the eel and the Trinity. Salmon.
Okay, and
First
we're
deal.
wondering about if he ever fished
Eagle.
Eagle and Pyramid.
I bet, yes.
But and I'm thinking those are such good fisheries. I can't believe he would have left them off if he'd been there. But
Well, he mentioned the white chuck twice.
anyhow, you can see that he fished everywhere and he fished all the time. And that's what he was. He was the
Fisherman's fisherman.
yeah,
I bet you
okay.
there's one of those lakes he didn't catch a fish at any of us.
Oh shit, he invited and we all went clear back in the early days when we fished, when we were in a fraternity, none of us even had a fucking boat. What we used is one guy that we borrowed from had a Army surplus 4-man life raft.
83 pounds.
Yeah, I mean it was a bastard. I carried that into Falls Lake. Did he have Falls Lake on here?
Nope, he didn't have Jordan on there. either.
Falls Lake, yeah. Anyhow, a bastard hike,
Terrible
horrible.
hike.
We carried that in there. We watched the van puncture it with an oar poking at it.
I didn't touch it.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do
Chrysler's
anything.
flower for
Yeah.
50 yards in every
White powder,
direction.
you know, like a fucking nuclear explosion. Anyhow, he always knew where to go, and he was always up to date. He had a great network of where to fish, and
I don't think he
And
put
he
a
worked,
basket
and he
in
worked
front of
at
him.
Sacramento State.
Sac
Sac
State. He
State.
retired from there, yeah.
I covered that already.
And so, anyhow, he was a great third baseman on the intramural softball team. And everything he did when he was a young guy, because his hands were so good and God, he could do well and he could hike. He was a fucking hiker, bar none. He had strong legs, and he could hike anywhere.
His other name in the fraternity was Pear. He had no shoulders and a big butt and thick legs. And boy, could he
He's like a
hike.
billy goat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Go
remember.
through brush like an elk.
That's hard to believe if you watched him
Yeah.
get in his fucking
Well,
bus
that's
the
why
last
I'm
couple of
bringing it
years.
up. That's why I'm bringing it up. That's what you saw. But I'm telling you what we saw, Morgan and I, and what we knew that band was like in the early days. And matter of fact, even up to most of the time that he worked at Sac State, you know, he was real good. And I mean, so anyhow, he was a real fisherman. That was the most important thing to him. Wife and family were on the list somewhere, but fishing was it. So I really enjoyed all of Van. I enjoyed going fishing with him. I know Morgan did, and Morgan, we all did. Anybody that was able to take a trip with him, because you knew it was going to be a good trip. You know, we probably weren't going to get skunked. And anyhow, we didn't have a boat except that life raft for a long time, and then he finally bought a boat and a Volkswagen bus.
Yeah, a van.
First thing he forgot his garage was low, and pulled the fucking Volkswagen bus with the boat on the top into his garage. Oh, Jesus. Anyhow, he was, I often helped him with that Volkswagen bus, and as well as his Isuzu Trooper that he bought.
What year was the bus? Does anybody remember?
Oh, 1963, first one. It was
Oh,
when
nice
I lived
split
in
window.
Westphalia. You had camper buses after that.
Nice split window.
I didn't hope he had the 23 window one that the pickers go nuts whenever
I
they
don't
say.
know. I don't think he did.
We had the pop top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the camper.
Yep, camper bus.
Was it a split window front?
Yeah, we
window?
had one of those back in the day. Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, he had a real early one, you know,
Green and
and
white.
How about that last boat of his? Had a little 14-foot Gregor with a 25-horse Honda that was so big. I mean, it
The
was
mortgage.
fast.
Mortgage
Well,
photo?
Morg rebuilt the bottom end for him, but I mean that boat. I remember that motor was so heavy that when you had to let it down by hand, you couldn't handle it. It weighed so much. and it would just go and fall down, and it ended up almost taking the whole transom of that little Gregor off. And the truck smart.
He
We had to
too had a
repair it.
sunk boat one morning, and he had a bunch of 8-pound line in his bilge pump, all the way through the bilge pump.
Oh, I don't
Stopped
remember
it.
that. Where was
Yeah,
that?
was up on the McLeod. We got up
Oh,
on
is
the
that
morning,
right?
thing was sunk, and I went in there. And
Anyhow, yeah, he had several experiences and adventures and events that happened from. He wasn't very good with vehicles or anything with
Mechanical,
wheels or
no.
mechanical. He never just liked to fit, but he was a good fisherman.
Yeah, all my life I called him my Uncle Van.
Yeah.
Van was also very dedicated to his fraternity life. We were both Sigma Chi's, and later on in life at Sac State, he opened up 2 brand new Sigma Chi chapters.
That's right.
First Sigma Chi to ever do that.
Really?
And, yeah, and they're both very active. They're still.
He used
they're
to
still
go out to other colleges, junior colleges and stuff like that.
All of them.
And set up and recruit and so very accomplished guy, cared about what he did, you know, the things he did and the people he met and was successful and people liked him just because he was so knowledgeable about whatever he was doing. He was really into it. Just don't ask him about cars or anything.
He married his first wife from Utica, in Utica, New York. That's where she was from, her family. And he was back there to get married.
His
What
first
the fuck
wife,
took him to Utica, New York?
That's where her family was.
her name was
Is that where he
Kathy.
met
There was a, yeah, that, I don't know where Van met Kathy. I think it's, what's the apartment building that they rented?
Oh, I
Who introduced you to Mom?
What?
Who introduced you to Mom?
Van.
Yeah.
At
Think
the
about
fraternity.
that.
We
If
went
Van
to a
wasn't
blind
around-
date and I met, that's where I
My
met
dad
Van.
might not be around. I might not be here.
He,
Your son might not be here.
he and Kathy
Yeah.
managed an
Part of
apartment
the vote
building
against him.
in
Oh, God.
Seattle,
It was famous.
in the University District, and Coralie and Alice lived there. You know, they rented from him when they were both going to university. You know, so he was really tight. He spent a lot of time at our house in Olympia.
Banner?
Was allergic to walnuts, remember?
God, he couldn't be around
And
us.
my dad said 100 times, Van's so allergic to walnuts he can't even ride in walnut shell tires. Walnut shell tires, you know.
Let's throw it back.
First time we had him down to Olympia, we got up the next morning, we had breakfast. And we were sitting around the table, my dad and my mom, and we were eating scrambled eggs. And he had a thing of scrambled eggs up here, and a big thing of eggs fell down out of the spoon he had in his hand here. He caught those things before they hit the floor. My mom couldn't believe it. Jesus,
I
head
watched
was
him
up
do
there.
that with a salt shaker and knock off like this, you know, and fucking grabbed it before it could hit the floor.
He had
Try it.
hands.
See if he can eat.
He also
See if
was
you can even telegraph the
a
hand.
four-year Letterman in tennis at Lincoln High School too.
Oh,
I
that's
mean
right.
Roosevelt. Excuse me,
He was a
Roosevelt.
tennis player. That's I
Good
forgot
tennis
about that.
player. Very good.
Yeah.
But he was his own worst enemy. God, he'd get mad at himself for mistakes.
Anyhow, his first wife's name was Kathy, and they were both only children. Van's dad owned a furniture store, and they were relatively affluent in Seattle, not far from the university.
Oh, close.
And anyhow, so him and Kathy fought like two only children would,
Yeah.
all
yeah,
the time.
Yeah.
God, it was something.
Every day when
Anyhow,
I was there.
and she was a real accomplished artist.
How about his kids? Alan used to come on this trip with us. He's our age.
Yeah.
Yes, he's here right now.
Well, yeah.
Megan, nice, very,
I
Very
don't- I'm not-
successful business lady.
very successful.
Where was
All
he
right.
born?
Van, Seattle.
Seattle. Born in Seattle.
Right there.
Roosevelt High School. Son of a
Yeah,
gun.
right there near the university. I
They
believe.
lived right next to the orthopedic hospital, and I lived with the Aikmans the first few years I was up in college.
We used to go
Those
there
were
in
times.
their house, and we had fucking dynamite poker games down in this. We had a room down in this basement.
Big Red
You know? Oh
What's
shit.
Big Red?
couch.
That's a couch.
Oh.
We had it in our
That's
house.
the one I slept.
Yeah,
I
we had it
slept
in
on
our
it many
house
years.
for
We had it
years
in our
growing up.
house.
And that's when
This would be holding a
Charlie.
regular
I was living with Charlie Trainer.
Hold it.
Big Red.
Uh,
A couch with a
And
name.
Charlie and I were living either in an apartment or a boarding house or something. So we would go over there and play poker. And they all learned how to read Charlie. And you could tell when Charlie had a good head because he couldn't control his eyebrows.
Christ, they jumped right to his hairline.
Yeah. He had a good head. It's like,
Charlie had something.
watch it. Charlie did
Yeah.
that.
Flip,
It
flip,
was
flip,
full,
flip,
full,
boy.
full,
Yeah,
full.
everybody full.
Dan was quite the card shuffler and dealer.
Oh, God.
He
He was
is, he
something
can
else.
manipulate a card.
Because he had hands, you know, that he was really, and he was an impressive guy, and I want you guys to know that. And he wanted to have his ashes spread on this lake where he had so many good times.
We had a cabin there, and there was not a cove. He didn't fish here. And when you went trolling with Van, you always came back at dark.
Yeah, where
We
was
about
his
went
cabin?
looking for him every night.
He had a cabin up here
Right there, fourth cabin, right down
20
there.
or 30 years that he would come to often. You know, it was a Forest Service.
I think they got it because Kathy couldn't get up all the stairs.
Well, I couldn't get up all the stairs. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
it was a big ass climb up the side of a mountain to get there. So, anyhow, let's have a drink to Van Aikman.
I'd like to add one thing.
Okay.
The Sigma Chi's have got a very famous saying for the White Cross. Did I send you Doherty's letter?
No.
Anyway, the last sentence in it is all honor to his name.
I'll take one.
Yeah.
Are those bandoleros?
Banderos. I guess it's Banderos for Rob.
Okay, take a sip and give it to me, Jeff. Oh, good. Never mind.
That's tequila, Rob.
This is tequila. You want Fireball, Dad?
He wants a cinnamon stick.
There is one left. Take this.
Dad's gonna have it. I'll make Dad have it.
All right, the man, Uncle Man. Which one?
Yeah.
Lots of great fishing.
Oh, honor to his name.
A great rainbow consume part of your ashes.
You see that list of his places he's fished? Try that in your lifetime.
In 2 states.
Johnny's damn close. He didn't have to work.
Well, yeah, you're right. He's
Thank you.
getting there.
Nobody could crack brush down to a river like him and find a hole quick. Did you get one? Re-rig. Nobody can re-rig faster than you.
All right. Okay, let's have the ashes here.
Well, the wind's blowing in.
Yeah, blowing in just right off the back, you'll be
Blowing
fine.
in where?
Right in, see his flag there. Blow right off the back, we'll be fine. Yeah.
Beautiful
John's
photo.
boat needs a good sweeping anyway.
Careful, John.
And he did all that fishing, never had anything bigger than a 14-foot regular and no top on it.
Grandpa, hold on to or Jeff. Right, Vanner.
You can put my ashes right
Where you
there.
belong, Van.
Yeah, the only other places that his wife's ashes were dumped, that's another place I wouldn't mind mine.
I don't want the part of my inherent part of salt.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Both hands.
Thank you, John.
Any questions?
Thank you, Van. I don't know if we'd be houseboating without him. Was he there at the
Oh, I
start?
didn't tell that story. One time when
The battle of-
I was paddling around real close with Rich Armas, a good friend from RCA. And we did have a boat. We had a Klamath that had a fucking racing hydroplane little motor on it, you know, that was really fast. Anyhow, so I'm talking to Van one time and he says, you guys ought to come up to Shasta this weekend. We're going to be out. He had all his buddies from the college. We're going to be out on a houseboat. And I didn't know a houseboat from a hot rock. This was in 1967, I think.
Oh, home light motors on him, huh?
Yeah.
No.
Two names. Fuck. It'll come to me. Anyhow,
Scott Atwater.
yeah, Scott Atwater. 3 horsepower. You had one 12-volt battery is all you had on the whole boat. Anyhow, so he said, well, you'll find us going out of Digger Bay. So we got up here and launched our boat and fucking looked around and finally there's a Digger Bay houseboat. Looked like a porcupine, you know, it had about 12 or 15 rods hanging over the edge. So we came up and we got on that boat and I thought, fuck, this is for us. This is the cat's meow, you know. Next year, we rented a houseboat, took a whole bunch of guys. I didn't start going with van.
If it was
That's a long
67, that's
time.
50 years ago.
Well, Van always
50
went on the
years, wow.
Yeah.
Let me help you out, Joe. We gotta lift this up real quick.
Why?
Jimmy wrapped this line up in our cloth before we
Okay,
get
we
going.
will.
All right. All right. Anyhow, end of story. Well, I guess they'll
Just gotta lift that on the tilt. Where's the
Yeah.
tilt at?
It's in there.
Well, I remember the Battle of Midway. And whose chili was that all over the side of that houseboat?
His band's chili.
Ben's
He was
chili.
not a
That
great-
was something
Yeah,
else.
pretty size.
We were
Oh,
out,
jeez,
we
you
were out
wouldn't have believed
camping
it.
at the Two
You
River
wouldn't have
and they
believed it,
forgot to
Bud,
bring
didn't you?
milk when we were
You had,
kids.
you had to be
And Dad
there.
went and got a half gallon of water and set on the table for us to put on our Cheerios. And I was the oldest of all the kids. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. I said, I'll just eat mine dry, thank you, because I'm old. I could eat about anything, even like a billy goat. Eat about
Let's
anything.
get off this thing. There's